Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is a refutation of Taoism. So what is Taoism? Taoism is an ancient Chinese philosophical and religious tradition that has been attributed to Lao Tzu, and this is mainly in his text Tao Te Ching. It is centered around the concept of Tao, often translated as the way. The Tao is not like a personal God that we have like Allah, nor it is a being like a creation. It is described as a source and essence of everything that exists, yet it is considered nameless, formless, etc. According to Taoism, everything flows from the Tao and returns to it. It promotes things like harmony with nature, non-action, wu-wei, simplicity, and other things of that nature. Taoism also emphasizes the balance of yin and yang, two complementary forces of the universe, like light and dark, masculine and feminine, etc. Morality in Taoism is often seen as something that is artificial. The Tao goes beyond good and evil, as they say, in a fixed and objective sense. Instead of commandments or obligations like we have the Sharia, etc., Taoism advises a person to align with the natural flow of the universe. Over time, Taoism gained other things like rituals, deities, immortality practices, etc. Like it got influenced by other beliefs and stuff over time. But the core philosophical teachings of Taoism, like in the book of Lao Tzu, still remains influential to this day. Now, to be fair with Taoism, like let's say in the book of Lao Tzu again, it talks about, like in fancy words, about nature, moderation, and humility and other things that might seem good. But if we examine it fully, we can see that it has a lot of logical problems. First, the Tao as an ultimate reality without intelligence. First of all, Taoism posits an impersonal and not known force called the Tao as the ground of existence. But if the Tao is not something that is conscious, something that has any form of intelligence, how can it produce such a highly ordered, intelligible universe? What I mean by this is basically, we know that Allah is all-knowing. We could prove this logically because the design is it requires almighty intelligence. So just by knowing how complex a tree is, the sea is, we could tell that the creator of the tree or the sea or whatever you want to choose is also has the capabilities of producing something like that due to its intelligence. The universe exhibits mathematical order, physical laws, design, etc. As I said before, which has features that point to intentionality, not blind spontaneity. It's not like something that was just made randomly. There was intent behind it. A nameless, formless force called Tao that neither knows nor intends cannot explain the precision and fine-tuning of what we observe in this reality. In contrast, as I said before, in the Islamic worldview, the source of everything, the trees, the seas, the birds, the sky, is from Allah, the all-knowing, all-powerful. And you don't even need revelation to know that a tree, which is super complex, has a creator. The second issue is moral relativism and the rejection of objectivity when it comes to morality. Taoism, like a lot of these philosophies, doesn't have a clear moral prescriptions, meaning they don't have something called objectively true, objectively wrong. Like in the book of Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching, he even suggests that imposing morality creates conflict. Its version of goodness lies in yielding passivity and flow, rather than duty and justice. But this leads to dangerous consequences. If there are no such thing as objective moral truth, then murder, oppression, deceit, and every other crime that we know of is not considered wrong, only out of harmony. Without a moral standard beyond nature, good and evil collapse into the preferences of convenience. Such a view undermines justice and moral responsibility. By contrast, in Islam we have the Sharia. We have what is wrong and what is right. We don't need to just base it all on guesswork. We rely on Allah's infinite wisdom and justice. Now the third problem is something in Taoism called Wu Wei, a problem of passive fatalism. Taoism teaches Wu Wei, which means non-action or effortless action, where a person avoids resistance and lets life just flow. While this can be a helpful antidote, let's say if you have anxiety, just let it flow, as they say, it promotes passivity, detachment, and resignation, even in the face of evil or injustice. If one should not act decisively or resist harm, how does one confront tyranny, injustice, or corruption? Civilization itself requires purposeful intervention and reform, not surrender to nature. If something happens to you, you just don't let it go. You have to fight back and regain control of the problem. In Islam, we have something called sabr, but we also have something called jihad. We have something called adl. We have something called amr bil ma'ruf, commanding good. Islam encourages submission to God, submission to Allah, not surrender to chaos. This idea of passivity is basically allowing the oppressors to continue and do whatever they want. A fourth concept is the yin-yang concept, which is very popular and people in the West are familiar with. And I mentioned before, the concept of yin-yang is, as they believe, is something necessary. Co-equal forces suggest that opposites such as life and death, masculine, female, good and evil are all part of something called the cosmic balance, and therefore equally valid or necessary. You need good, you need bad, you need masculine, you need feminine. But this risks blurring the distinction between truth and falsehood, good and evil, and right and wrong. If evil is merely something about balancing force to good, then evil is justified, even essential. This is both morally dangerous and logically incoherent, as it denies any basis for accountability or repentance. Even though in Islam we believe there's something called evil, there's evil people, there's cursed people, there's oppressing people, but we don't affirm them as equal, as in with good. We believe good is superior to evil, and that evil is not necessary but permitted by Allah for the reasons of trial, wisdom, and free will, and etc. The goal is not to balance with evil, but to struggle with it, fighting against it. Now, there's also something about Taoism. I'm not going to go deep into this, but there's no afterlife, no judgment, no accountability. Taoism, especially in its early forms, before it got corrupted later, in the later Taoism, they had reincarnation, which some might argue, is a form of accountability, but realistically it makes no logical sense, because if creation keeps on continuing and you'll always reincarnate, that means creation is eternal, which makes no sense. So, going back, Taoism in its early form had no concept of divine judgment, no resurrection, no final justice. Life flows in a cycle, and death is a return to Tao, not a moral reckoning. And I think this is obvious. The tyrants, the murderers, oppressors in this world would face no consequences under Taoism. Victims of injustice would have no redress. The universe would be morally indifferent, and it won't be just. Islam and reason affirm there must be a day of judgment, a final accountability, where every soul receives what it earned. Do those who commit evil deeds think we will make them equal to those who believe and do righteous deeds in life and death? Evil is what they judge. Quran 45:21. Now, Comparing this to the Islamic worldview, Islam teaches that the universe was created by a perfect, wise, and eternal creator, Allah, who is not part of creation but above and beyond it. Unlike in Taoism, Islam, the deen of Allah, provides us an objective morality, good and wrong, the Sharia, clear commands and prohibitions, this is haram, this is halal, a model of virtue in the prophets, something to strive for, a hope in divine justice and mercy, an afterlife, an eternal afterlife based on accountability. What we did in this world will affect our afterlife on what we achieve. We either get a reward or a punishment. This worldview gives us clear direction, clarity, and purpose, not just something as abstract as harmony with nature, but it's clear, simple, straight obedience to the creator of nature. To end, let's talk about why this Taoism fails as a comprehensive worldview. Taoism may sound flashy and smart with its complex words, as it's all over in the Tao Te Ching. If you read it, you're gonna be confused. You'll spend an hour just reading every single sentence, trying to understand it. It talks about simplicity, balance, and living naturally. As in its comprehensivity, it falls down right away. It fails philosophically by positing a non-intelligent source for an intelligent cosmos. As I explained, the design requires intelligence, so the creator is intelligent. But it goes against Taoism, since Tao is not intelligent, but the creation is intelligent, so that makes no sense. It fails ethically because it doesn't have any moral truth, no exact good, no exact bad. It fails existentially by offering no justice, no purpose, and no meaning to life and death, no afterlife, no day of judgment, etc. In contrast to the pure Islamic worldview, which offers what the human heart and reason crave: truth, guidance, justice, and mercy, and connection to the one who created us, saying, "Indeed, my Lord has guided me to a straight path, a correct religion, the way of Abraham, inclining toward truth, and he was not of the polytheist." Quran 6:161.